What's up, guys? Welcome to the Avengers Infinity War Spoilercast. I am here with an awesome panel of gamers and also hardcore Marvel fans, I guess. Maybe? I don't know. I don't actually know if they're Marvel fans or not. I like Marvel quite a bit, though I prefer DC, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. But, we're here to discuss Infinity War in its full capacity. So, spoiler alert, like, we're going to be spoiling the entire movie. If you haven't seen it, don't listen to this, okay? It literally says in the title, this is a spoiler cast. So, like, you've been warned. But yeah, what's up? What's up, random guy? Do you
Hi.
have like a different name that you go by?
I just go by Master Chief. That's all.
Master Chief. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's get it started. What was I gonna say? Oh, what the fuck is that called? Oh, Scumcast will be tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and yeah, let's get it popping. So I'll go first. I'm gonna talk about my experience with this movie. I was so excited to see this movie. I've seen pretty much, not even pretty. I've seen every single Marvel movie that has come out. I've been lukewarm on some of them. I've absolutely loved the latest few, like Black Panther and Thor Ragnarok. Those are my favorites so far. Oh, and also Civil War was very good as well. But I didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 very much, and I didn't like Spider-Man Homecoming. So I was kind of like, am I getting tired of superhero movies? But
Oh man.
Thor Ragnarok was like, hey, bitch, you're not. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm not. And then Black Panther came out, and it's just been uphill from there. So, I went to see this movie opening night, and I was like, cool, very excited. I got my mozzarella sticks, I got my icy, I got the perfect seat. And then halfway through the movie, right when it was getting exciting, uh, we had to evacuate the theater. So I was like pretty bummed about that. But then I was able to see it on Saturday. Great experience. And then I saw it on Wednesday night with one of my friends because she wanted to hang out and she wanted to see it. And I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So I saw it with her, and yeah, it's been a good time. Honestly, to be perfectly honest, I never want to see this shit again. I never want to see this movie again. And
Oh
not because it
man.
was bad, but just because it was so depressing, and just kind of like, okay, I'm ready for part two. Like, I'm ready to see where this goes. So overall, the movie's a 9 out of 10 for me. And what do you guys think? Anyone can go.
So you're pretty much like an Infinity War expert because you've seen it like
Mm.
2.5 times.
Uh huh.
Yeah, that's funny. I loved it. I mean, I want to see it again. I haven't been able to see it again yet. Me and my wife have to go see it. I saw it with some friends before. I'm gonna take her to go see it probably within the next week. But I'm a big comic book nerd, so for me, like all the Marvel movies, I'm always all in to go see. Uh, I haven't really disliked any of them.
What?
Maybe just the first two Thor movies. I can't make it through those without falling asleep. But uh, outside of those two, I've liked all of them, and this one just it's an ensemble movie, but it's it accomplished something that had never really been done in film before, where you took like a comic book crossover and then made it like a real movie, and it worked. So just my hats off to the Russo brothers because I mean, I don't think there's very many directors that could really pull that off with all those big name actors who have their own egos and just juggling all of that and still having a quality movie with a quality villain that is just awesome. So yeah, I love the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I will go. This movie, man, as soon as it starts, it's like, wow. It's like you see stuff that you've never seen in a Marvel movie before. You see the Hulk literally get treated like he treated Loki in Avengers before, and it was like that set a tone for the rest of the movie. The thing with the movie, it had a lot of ups and downs. Not a really, it was kind of all over the place. It jumped from scenario to scenario. They were putting a whole bunch of different plot points together. But the thing that really it just felt natural. Like, usually when a movie does that, you're like, wow, you can't keep up with all the different scenarios they're doing, but they found a way to make it interesting. And like you said, is with the ensemble of characters they had, you really wanted to see what these characters were actually going to endure through the whole process of this movie. And anybody that has any of the backstory to comic books or anything that went into this, like I do, I was really just looking to see how things would play out differently from that. And that really encouraged me to actually want to see the movie more than once, because I saw it twice, and I saw a lot of stuff that I didn't see the first time, because you're in such an awe shock of what's happening in the movie that you miss a lot of things. But I'm with Luca. I don't want to ever see this movie again. I know that's a damn lie, because I'll probably end up buying it on 4K Blu-ray when it does come out. But this movie is super dark. This movie is super freaking dark. Mm-hmm. And that was even more apparent when I got to the end the second time seeing it, knowing what was at stake, knowing what was happening throughout the whole movie, and seeing it happen again. I still had the same gut punch reaction in the last 30 minutes of that movie that I had the first time I seen it. And the biggest thing that this movie really portrayed, and I think it really successfully did, it really made people care. I think people that know nothing about the MCU outside of just the movies themselves are the people that are super shocked about the ending. And their feelings are like, hey, they don't even know there's another movie coming out. I had to tell my aunt that knows nothing about this. She was like, no, this can't end like this. I was like, no, there's another movie coming out. She said, oh, well, they got to fix all this. And those people left the movie so defeated with the way that the whole movie was portrayed. It was an amazing thing to see. And I'm still kind of struggling where I feel like this movie sits in like the whole number system of all the Avenger movies. But I think I really just have to wait. You have to wait till the second one comes out to see the whole totality of the whole thing, to see exactly how I feel about it overall. But the movie by itself was great. I loved it. I just probably don't want to ever go to the show to see it again.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I gave it an 8.5. And I don't know if I want to see it again.
Yeah,
it was good. I enjoyed it. I think the best part about the movie is having all those you're talking about A+ Marvel heroes, right? I mean, these are the creme de la creme, and the pacing was good. You have all these top of the line characters on screen doing their thing. I just felt like this is gonna sound weird, but my personal opinion, this is like the most, like, the storyline is old, right? Infinity War is a very old comic.
Mm-hmm.
And that corniness of being old is evident here, and it kind of pulls me out the experience, right? Like, I want all the stones so I can put them in here. I'm all powerful, like, oh God, seriously. So it kind of took me out, but I already knew what to expect reading some of Infinity War back in the day. But to see that translate on film, that's the challenge, I think. Because not all comic books are easily translated into film. We've seen that. So, I mean, when I walked away from the theater and I'm like, my final impression was like, I just want to see part 2 and I hope it comes fast, because the ending just wasn't satisfying for me. You know what I mean? And to a lot of people, got people mad or whatever, but the movie was good. I mean, I'm probably still going to purchase it when it comes on 4K Blu-ray, but it still wasn't better than Civil War to me. So I enjoyed it for the most part. So
it's interesting. You were talking about like Thanos wanting the Infinity Gems. Well, in the comics, they're the gems, the stones in the movies. But I also thought it was interesting that they did try to update it a little bit, because I think this storyline is somewhat the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, and then the Infinity War storyline was like a secondary one where Marvel tried to do the crossover again, and it wasn't as successful. But Thanos his motivation in the comic, it really would not have worked in this movie to the casual fan. I don't think that he would have been as believable as a villain to many of the casual, fangoers if they were like, this dude just worships death and he's just trying to impress death. That's why he's trying to kill half the universe. That's stupid.
Because it isn't death the female, right?
Yeah, she's a chick. And so
Thanos and Deadpool are in love with her.
Yep.
So it's that would have kind of like fell flat with.
And for the record, not to cut you off, but for the record, Drax was the funniest he's ever been. So.
Oh my god!
Facts.
I'd give it an overall like 8 because I mean they stayed true to like a lot of stuff. They got a lot of like little Easter eggs in the movie from like the comics. That like when Drax and Mantis get like killed, that's literally like how like Egos and them die in the comic books, like Nebula. So that's why he turns into like those blocks or whatever. So like they hit a couple things in there to like keep it authentic, but then like some stuff they like messed up. Like when Thor goes to remake that weapon, that place they go to, like there it's pretty much like a space station. When in like the comics, it's one of the like 9 realms. So it's like literally a different dimension, but then they go there basically like it's in the same dimension. So
let me say this for the record. You can hate me. Send your DMs of hate.
Oh man,
Star-Lord is a piece of shit. He's garbage.
Star-Lord's fault.
He's trash.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you right now. Especially
I fucking hate Star-Lord, piece of shit.
I think the best character from the new movie is Teen Groot because he's literally like playing. He's a gamer. He's like they drop like he's playing Defenders or something. I think, pretty sure. So
yeah,
that's pretty dope.
But it's interesting, like, because everyone hates Star-Lord for basically, preventing them from getting the gauntlet off of Thanos' hand. But if you think about it, so like when Doctor Strange did his whole, so like I've seen 14 million possibilities. There's only one where we win, and if I think for most people have at this point have got pretty much figured out that he knew Tony had to live in order for them to win in that one possibility. So also if he knew that, then he also knew Star-Lord was going to do what he did, which was prevent them from getting the gauntlet off. So I wonder, like, if he stopped Star-Lord, they got the gauntlet off. I mean, Thanos, he a G without the gauntlet. So he probably could have handled, majority of them without it, and they don't know how to use it. So, it almost kind of like, would have worked, maybe. I don't know.
Ayo, Taz in the chat says if it wasn't for Star-Lord, they wouldn't have even gotten that close. Like, it was his plan.
It was. You're right.
That's true.
He's still trash. So it doesn't matter.
No, but the biggest thing that I took is like a lot of, especially the second time I saw it, like the dialogue that you hear, like keywords, like how Doctor Strange said that this is the only way it could happen, and then another party said that when he was actually talking about the possibilities of what he saw. He said, I only see one. And then he said the upcoming battle. So they left a lot of interpretation in there because he could have been talking about the whole scope of the whole everything that they're trying to accomplish by stopping Thanos from doing what he wants to do. Or he could have just been talking about just that one singular plan. No one really knows because they left so much up to interpretation by the end of this movie. And then they took a lot of liberties with it. Certain people that I knew would like not make it through this movie actually made it through the movie, and then people that died, I was like, okay, I didn't expect that.
So, what do you think of the post-credit scene? Like who Nick Fury was sending a distress call to?
It's Captain Marvel.
Yeah, well, it depends on if you are a fan of comics or movies, because if you go by the comic, it's a completely different person that reverses everything that basically happened in the comic book. And they already came out and said that Adam Warlock will not be in part 2 because they're saving him for Guardians 3.
Guardians 3.
So we already know that plot line is not going to be there. So so at this point, we're kind of in uncharted territory. You know, you really don't know who's gonna. I mean, I have some ideas on where they're gonna go with trying to fix whatever happens in this. But right now, it's just I think Doctor Strange, like you said, saw it and he was like, "This is what really has to happen." And I always thought that was really funny because especially with Iron Man and them really been trying to get from up under that for a while now. I thought this would have been a perfect time to take the liberties to actually end it, and they didn't. And then same thing with Captain America. Remember back in the original, what was it, Age of Ultron, when Tony had the vision and he saw Cap's shield shattered in half, of an upcoming battle that was coming. So I always thought that was something that they may touch on in the very first one, but we don't know when that's going to happen because that has to have something to do with one of these movies, and we didn't see it in the first one. So yeah, I just want to see this next one because I have no closure right now with the way that they ended.
Well, maybe what they're going to do is just like a reverse timeline. You get what I'm saying? Like they're going to basically show like the alternate timeline in the second movie.
Well, the biggest thing with that is how the only thing that they really didn't touch on is what the actual Soul Stone is, what the purpose of it is. Every other stone they actually showed Thanos use.
But because the Soul Stone, the Soul Stone literally has control like over all life. Like,
exactly. If you go by the comic book, it has control over all life, and I think the end of the movie tells a lot of what's going to happen with that Soul Stone in the next one. It really just depends.
It's going to resurrect everybody.
Yeah, it's going to. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows in a Marvel movie, no one's dead for real. I mean, people. Now there are people that are dead,
unless you're Quicksilver.
Well, yeah, well, yeah, But the biggest thing with it is
nobody cares about Quicksilver.
Well, the biggest thing is how are they going to do it? Because, like I said, Adam Warlock's not a part of this, and then I think Nebula is going to have a big part in probably reversing this.
I think it's going to be Vision. Like whatever them trying to separate, I guess that stone from him is going to be like the key. I think.
Okay, so who do you actually think is going to be the people? Okay, so of all the people that died, who are the people that are officially gone? Like not coming back.
Yeah, I think Loki's done.
Yeah, Loki's done for.
I don't know, man.
Heimdall is not coming back either.
Yeah.
I think Gamora is coming back. I think she's trapped in the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
I think she's trapped in the Soul. I was of a mind that anybody that didn't disappear in the movie was coming back, and I was like at odds with her until I thought about it. When Thanos snapped his fingers and he went to the Soul Realm and he saw Gamora. So I think that was a way of anybody that can interpret that actual scene and saying that she's trapped there because, she didn't die from the snap, but she died in the preparation of attaining the Soul Stone in the first place. So that means her soul is trapped there. Right. So they could probably get her back. And I thought about that, say, okay, so Gamora more than likely can come back. But the thing with the Soul Stone is we really don't know how it actually functions. Like now, is it that you could just acquire the Soul Stone now since Thanos actually threw Gamora off of the cliff and he attained it? How does another person is able to use it at that point? Do you have to sacrifice something else? Do a person have to sacrifice themselves in order to do this? I really believe one of these first wave or phase one Avengers is going to be the sacrificial lamb in this next movie to actually redo everything that happened, since Adam Warlock isn't the person that's going to do it for them.
And if you follow comics, the Avenger team is always changing. So
I think that's gonna be Vision. Like I'm saying, they're gonna sacrifice him, and then
it's gonna be Cap.
Yeah, I mean, Vision's already dead. I mean, it will be kind of, and he's not a very if he sacrificed himself, I think the audience would be like, okay. I mean, no one really cares about Vision, but I think it'll be Cap. Like Cap would give that emotional pull to the audience, be like, wow.
Yeah, I think it'll be Cap.
Yeah, I think and it's something that Cap would do.
Over, so.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I feel that this whole conversation is going to be revolved around now because since I've been thinking about it, I was like, in order to save life, someone's going to have to give theirs, and I think Tony Stark has a lot to do with getting the stones back, but I don't know if he'll be the one that is. I mean, I think he already had his hero moment when he saved the city in New York the first time. Cap hasn't had that moment yet, and we already know of all the Marvel characters, Cap is the one. A lot of people thought that Civil War was going to be the
He
one
needs
that
his
buckled
moment of
us.
triumph, man.
Exactly, he needs it. He hasn't had it yet.
Yep, I agree.
So Luca,
What the heck?
I'm waiting to hear Master Chief's thoughts on the matter.
Go ahead. Max.
I give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a movie I would see again, to be honest with you.
What was
that
you,
ending?
yeah. Oh, the ending.
I really wasn't a fan of the ending, to be honest.
I've heard people say, well, at least two of you guys have said you weren't fans of the ending. Was it because it was such an abrupt? Okay, all these people are dead. Thanos is smiling. All right, goodbye now. Like it was it's just too abrupt for you.
Yeah,
I just I honestly, as someone who knows how like comic book stuff works, I don't really care that most of these guys are dead. Like I don't care. The only deaths that affected me were Gamora's, and when Peter was like, "I don't want to go, Mr. Stark," and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't want you to go either." Like, the only one.
yeah, people made memes about that.
It was kids crying all over the movie theater.
I'm done.
But like, other than like Gamora's coming back, James Gunn already discussed that, so I'm like, whatever. And then Spider-Man Homecoming killed it. They're not giving him up, so I don't care. They're dead. They'll be back next movie. Whatever.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that do care are the people that know nothing about the comic side of it and know that these people aren't truly dead. So what I'll tell you my thoughts on the ending. I thought it was ingenious. I felt, as much as I felt like it was the darkest thing I've ever seen happen, the fact that they actually did it and they actually pulled it off. I didn't expect them to end the movie just like that. I was like, this movie just ended.
It's basically a spin-off on like what actually happened like in the comics. Like in the comics, he becomes like a farmer or whatever.
Well, and that's the funny thing, because in the comic, they took the last scene or the last page in the comic after Thanos was defeated, and they put it in the middle of the two movies. Like that scene where you see him overlooking the skyline and him looking at the sunrise, that is an actual page out of the last page of the Infinity War page out of the comic after they already defeated him and Adam Warlock reversed everything.
And it's because he basically like gave up because he was like, all right, there's no way that I could basically like impress death. So he basically just became a farmer and was like,
he was content. He was content with what he'd done. Exactly. And that now when they inserted that scene, I was like, okay, so what is his motivation now? That's the whole thing about the next Infinity War that I'm wondering, because Thanos did what he set out to do. His whole goal was to, they didn't even really touch on death at all, and him trying to impress her. The whole scene was basically saying, hey, I just want to balance the universe, and this is why. And he did that. Mission accomplished. What is the purpose of Thanos in the next movie? Because they made sure right at the very end of the credits to say Thanos will return. Like,
they're gonna kill him next movie. And they also have to get the gauntlet.
They kind of left the opening though at the end of Ragnarok though, because his sister, you get what I'm saying, is supposedly the goddess of death. So
Hela is the goddess of death. Yeah.
So maybe her, you know what I'm saying, because you never really actually see her like die. You see the planet blow up and stuff, but you never really physically see her die. So
true.
Maybe
why would she help them?
Well, because she's death. That's what I'm saying. So now you got Thanos, like it's gonna basically come out and say why that he wanted to really explain why that he wanted to kill half the people. You get what I'm saying?
They're never
Well,
going to bring that storyline to
they're not
mainstream
bringing him
audiences.
being
Because first of all, him being obsessed with death, that is a fucking stupid storyline in the first place. Like that motivation is dumb as hell. And I know that in comics there's a lot of dumb motivations, but that absolutely cannot fly. It will not translate well at all. They're not doing that.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Not if it's like as a person.
In the
No, it's
first
not happening.
Infinity War movie at all, and then just to throw her in there and him to be like, yeah, I said I was just trying to balance things and help people, and so that people wouldn't starve to death, but really it's about death.
Me being in love with death.
That wouldn't work, I don't think. I know that the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie and the Captain Marvel movies are going to tie into what's going to happen with the Avengers 4 movie. I think Ant-Man and Wasp will avoid getting dusted based off of the fact that I think in the comic they say when they shrink down into the quantum dimension or whatever, like they are outside of time. So like something like that's going to happen. That's the reason why none of them got caught up, But I think however that movie ends will somehow be a benefit to the heroes winning in Avengers 4. I think Captain Marvel is going to assemble like her own Avengers team of some sort. I don't know who in her movie. I know it's going to be. I feel like it's going to be like a part origin story, but then part tying into Nick Fury calling her in to help handle this, that by the end of the movie, she's gonna have she's not gonna be by herself because that doesn't make any sense. By herself, she can't do it, but she'll have other people who are strong enough to be able to get it done. Maybe I don't know, Silver Surfer. Maybe.
Yeah, and that was the weird thing because
probably.
Yeah, that was a weird thing too, because that was one of the differences in the movie too, compared to the comic where Hulk was the one that was sent back to Earth to warn everybody about Thanos, but in the comic it was Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
So, but the big one thing I do want to say is Thanos, I loved his character. He did not raise his voice. I think he did it one time in the whole movie. It was like he was like that villain that actually could pull off the fact that you felt like he was trying to actually do something good for the galaxy.
Yeah.
Huh?
It was weird just watching the movie. I felt like he wasn't really. It's like if you could be an anti-villain, he was like the antithesis of it. Like as I was watching the movie, I was like, some things he was saying actually made sense, even knowing it's the wrong thing that he's doing and his motivations may be wrong, but you could never really hate Thanos. Like most people would hate somebody. Like more people hate fucking Star-Lord for what he did versus people hating Thanos. Like you should hate Thanos more than anything, but people care more why Star-Lord messed it up. And I just think Thanos was his character and the way he held himself and actually carried himself through the whole movie. I was truly impressed with the way that they actually captured that character like that on screen. Like I said, I'm just impressed by it.
Well, yeah, I think he was a great villain, and despite the fact that I think he's a great villain, and this is coming from me, who's pretty morally gray, who will generally, if I can see a reason and logic behind something, can be like, okay, I understand it, even though I don't accept it. But like, he's literally killing women and children just for his it makes sense to a small degree, but it's kind of like, no.
Yeah. I mean, he's still crazy because even when he tried to explain it, he was like, on my home planet Titan, we had overpopulation and I had this idea on how to fix it, and they treated me like a pariah and threw me out. And look at it now. See, I was right. It's like
comic, right? When he was born with like some weird genetic defects, so he doesn't look like the rest of his people. So they were probably already side-eyeing him like, sir.
Right.
Like what?
Yeah.
And probably him being treated like a pariah also spurred on this kind of mindset that he has. At the end of the day, his motivations are very ridiculous and selfish, and it all stems from what happened to his planet. So he's like, well, this happened here, so automatically it applies everywhere else. Let's just kidnap children, torture them, commit a genocide on half the planet, and yeah, it's fine. We're doing them a mercy, huh? Like what? like I said, he's a great villain, but he's not my favorite MCU villain. My favorite.
Oh yeah, he's not my favorite.
Vulture.
Yeah, he's not my favorite. It's just the fact that it's not my favorite. Yeah, you like Vulture?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one from the movies, obviously.
Okay.
Because his motivations were understandable. He's just trying to take care of his family.
Right.
So,
there's ways to take care of your family. You don't have to sell alien technology on the black market.
Right.
I think that if you were in his situation and you had a job and the government's like, no, sir, you're definitely not doing that. First of all, this dude probably doesn't have a college education. He looks the type. He looks like a white collar dude, right? Or not white collar, blue collar, whichever, whatever. He looks like a blue collar dude who's just like taking care of his family. Cool. Obviously, if you're gonna resort from working hard and then just go to selling weapons of mass destruction, there's got to be an in between with that. Like, you're not just, if you're a good person, you're not automatically going to start doing bad things. Like, that's just not how it works. So honestly, him selling black market weapons, whatever, like it could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse, and I can understand his motivations.
Whatever.
I understand his motivations.
Selling guns.
Whatever.
Block.
If he didn't do it, someone else would have. And at least this way, like I said, he's taking care of his family. And like, I don't have a wife or kids or anything like that, but I'm like, okay, I can see that. I can understand it. I'm not one who lives by this ideal that everything has to be perfect and the world is black and white. So I can understand that more than wiping out half the population. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I just feel like this movie, when something happens in a movie traumatic like this for a lot of people, and you got to remember, like, for people that know nothing about the comic books or anything, they just know the MCU, they were devastated. A lot of those people were devastated by the end of this movie. But like I said, the conversation wasn't how horrible this character was that did this thing. It was directed towards somebody else. And that's why I feel like they pulled off something that I'd never seen really pulled off when it comes to a villain before. You know, people have villains they love, but like for this villain not to be like one of the most hated villains, I mean, not saying he's like the greatest villain, but not to be up there in the echelon of people that I just can't stand this person. You know, if you watch Game of Thrones, everybody hated freaking Joffrey. They were sending that dude text messages and stuff on Twitter talking about how he needed to die of a horrible death because of things he did in the TV show. So, you know, not to have that conversation around this character is very. I'm just not used to seeing something like that, and it just seems like the community has spoken, saying that, well, this guy isn't that bad, or they can kind of understand his motivations. Still suck that he did it, though.
I mean, I haven't really seen a lot of people talking about Thanos. They've been talking about like other things, you know?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's like a subplot of the whole conversation. He's like,
which is odd because he got the most screen time.
Exactly.
You know, I think the most vile MCU villain has to be Ego. Like, he's the one I had a visceral reaction when he found out what he did, and I was just
Ego was a
great villain, but just terrible, disgusting,
terrible asshole.
And maybe because it's more, it hits closer to home, I guess you could say. Because
he used his own kid,
he's killing his own children. So
that's just
the perfect one.
That's kind of like really out there.
I still remember how he just so casually told Star-Lord that he put the tumor in his mother's
mom.
brain. I was like, dang, it's pretty cool, man. He just said it so casually. It was just like, kind of wish I didn't have to do that. Like I didn't. But no, I think I like Killmonger.
Yeah, Black Panther's still my favorite.
Slow mo. Let me ask you a question, bro.
What's up?
Are you black?
Yeah.
Dog.
Right, that's
Here we
cool,
go.
man.
Here we go.
Are you black?
Yes, I'm black.
Not
Yeah.
like this. Not like this.
got
Oh
dreads?
man.
No.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
I was just fucking
Not
with you.
like. Not
I
like.
was like,
Not like
where is this going?
No, but you know what? But
Where are you
I
going
got-
with this?
I see
Nowhere.
I see what's happening here because I'm not gonna lie. Real life scenario in the movie theater, sitting next to my wife. When they killed Black Panther, my wife was like, "They killed the symbol of all black people."
Nah, hey,
Oh man.
when
Are
hey,
you
I
serious?
swear to God, when I was sitting next to my girl watching that, and when he disappeared, bro, she was holding my hand, right? She snatched that shit. What the fuck? and then after like everybody started disappearing, the movie ended, and she's like, and the whole theater was fucking quiet. Everybody was quiet. All you hear is my girl say, "The fuck."
Yeah.
And that was it. And I was like, "Come on, we gotta go, man."
Seriously, like when Black Panther disappeared, this dude like 5 rows back was like, "We just got him!" Like I was like,
Dang.
Not like this. On
Wow.
screen,
Oh my god.
we can't have it, bro. You can't have nothing.
Wow.
Man. It was
and then there was some other people like as I was leaving, this one dude was like, "They're gonna take out Black Panther, then they're gonna leave Rhodey." He could have took out Rhodey. I was like,
You gonna leave Kung Fu Kenny?
Oh man.
Oh,
"It's saucy, man."
it was
Hey, I ain't even gonna go there. I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Bro, I'm about to do my research right now, bro. I'm about to read all. I'm about to sign. Hey, comics, Marvel Unlimited got a deal right now, $5 for the month.
really.
Uh,
Oh, I might have to go check that out. Nah, man, but it was that movie theater, man, when when he disappeared, everybody in that movie theater was like they were shocked. I was like,
Oh, you know what part gave me chills though in the movies? That shit was dope. Is when Wakanda Forever and he suited up and they
yep.
start mobbing out, bro. The whole theater got lit, and that felt real good to see that, man. And then another time is when what happened? Oh yeah, when they showed Cap when Cap first came.
Yeah.
The theater went crazy for that too. But that was like the only 2 parts.
Dog, this dude in the theater behind us, you know, that same scene when they said Wakanda Forever, and you see Captain America and Black Panther running, and they're running so fast they outrun everybody.
yeah.
The dude 2 seats behind me, I didn't even see who he must have had been black, but he was like, "Ain't no way." He was like, "Ain't no way Captain America's keeping up with Black Panther."
Hey, I swear to God, when they said Wakanda Forever and they started running, I was about to be like, I was like, nah, I'm chilling. I ain't gonna do that.
Hey man, and Barker made it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fucking
he
hard.
made it. So, question: what do you think Shuri do you think Shuri just was able to download the consciousness of Vision right
Yeah.
before they got attacked?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I think too.
And he'll come back, but he won't be as powerful as he was
Because
before.
she's smart. She knows she was crunching for time. She's not dumb, bro. She got that shit done right before they came.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how she made Banner just feel stupid. It's like, why didn't you do this? Because we didn't think about it.
And what do you think about Banner not being able to change it to the Hulk?
No, I thought that
the
was
Hulk
I
shook.
thought that was in. Dude, I thought that was ingenious, dude, because
was.
he got his ass
Yeah.
whooped by Thanos, and he was like, "No, he don't want no more."
Then
And
they
then,
show
well,
Hulk-
I think part of that also has to do with
Yeah, I didn't like that.
to Ragnarok when he's like, well, if I change it into Hulk, I can't be guaranteed that I'll come back. So you got like a two-sided like conflict basically. Like he's scared to come out, and he knows if he does come out, Banner don't really want him to come out because he might lose control and like never come back. So
Yep.
Hey, Random, did you say you didn't like that part about Hulk not coming out?
Yeah, I really didn't like that one.
Why is that?
So, like, didn't they show like Hulk in like the first trailer?
Yeah, Yeah, there's a scene in the
Yeah.
trailer of Hulk running with them through the
Yeah.
jungles of Wakanda that wasn't actually in the movie, and some
Yeah,
people are kind of yeah.
Oh,
So that part
that
didn't
kind
really
of
happen.
pissed me off a little bit.
Oh, dude, they took a lot of liberties in those trailers.
Yeah.
They just put him in the Hulkbuster and that's about it.
Yeah. But I did hear a theory. I don't quite believe it, but there's a theory that they're somehow they're going to use the time stone to rewind time, and then at that point the Hulk will get over the ass whipping he got, and then and then that scene that they put in the trailer will actually happen in Avengers 4. I don't know. I don't.
Oh, so what you're saying is we already see scenes from the next Avengers movie, just didn't know it.
yeah, like I said, they're going to show like an alternate. Like
Yeah.
there has to be two timelines basically, because if the timeline it took place actually happened, then it's permanent. You get what I'm saying? So there's either going to be a split timeline, or it's just going to be a continuation. And to me, it makes more sense that they're going to split like the timeline.
All right. So the question is, 10-year buildup. We only got half the puzzle. We still got to wait one more year for the other half.
Mhm.
Was the buildup worth it? Was it
Yes.
everything you wanted in the
Yes, it
first
was
part
worth
of it?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what do you think sold it the most, and what do you think they could have did better to actually enhance it even more than they did?
I mean,
Dude, it was just a good movie. It's just
I think they
everything
touched
was
on
built
basically.
up, you know.
They touched on like
Yeah.
pretty much every one of the other movies, like in some
They
way. They dropped in like some reference to it. Like, I mean, like when he's like, we have the Hulk, like that's from the very first, like Avengers movie and stuff like that. So, or like how in Loki at the beginning, like he goes from being a hero at the end of basically Ragnarok to because he stole the Tesseract is why all the Asgardians get killed at the beginning of Infinity War. So.
Also, it's like I don't know who said it to Loki, but someone in the first Avengers movie told Loki, "You will never be a god," which is what he said to Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I do remember
So
that.
I like
Probably
those little
Thor.
references there, here and there.
Mm.
I just want to know what happened to Korg.
They're
Yeah,
probably on a different fleet.
they actually said that Valkyrie did survive, and they did, but they didn't. They said they didn't want to, speak on the lives of Cork yet.
Oh, man.
I mean, Thor said he slaughtered half my people.
Half
so
his people.
Yeah.
I think they were just on a different vessel.
Ship. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think for the way that the movie went and all of the threads and timelines and just scenarios that they had to tie together, I think this is the best outcome you could have gotten. I think they couldn't really have done anything better than what they actually did. I was thoroughly impressed how they were able to actually just tie all this stuff together in such a meaningful and carefree way. It was really good.
I think it was a genius move to follow through with the comic storyline and allowing Thanos to win, because the casual moviegoer, the movie goers that just know the movie storyline, it came out of left field on them. They probably all went into that movie thinking, okay, there's this Stan, this dude looks pretty tough, but the Avengers will win in the end, because that's what happens. They always win in the end. And then they didn't. And that silence of just it's like a morgue, like it was a funeral, like people were just walking out of the theater like their best friend just died. That's the exact reaction
Well, when
they were expecting.
When is the last time you've seen a movie that has ended like that? Where the good guy doesn't win? When is the last time you seen a movie like that where the villain wins at the end?
Trying to
Can't
remember.
think of one.
Yeah, I can't think of one, to be honest.
So like I'm saying, like that pretty much goes against, for a casual person, that's like watching a car accident. Like they've never probably even seen that before. Like the villain wins. What do you mean? Like they're walking out of there like, what just happened? Is this real? Like, did this? They in shock, like literally.
Mm-hmm. Man, it was I can't remember the movie line that said it, what movie it was, but when I looked at this movie, it was like that line always stuck in my head. It was like someone said it was like, in order for us to win, we must lose. And that was what the whole antithesis of this first movie was. In order for them to win this fight, they had to lose now. I wish I knew what movie that came from, but that really stuck with me after I saw it for the second time. I'm about to find out what movie said that.
Well, I think what'll tie that in is that once Thanos realizes, like in part 2, that whatever he did has like really probably has no effect, really. You know what I'm saying? And is only delaying and inevitable. Then that's gonna be part of his weakness. The second time, he's not going to fight as hard. The second time, when he realizes that really it's not worth it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing I would say, Josh Brolin being cast as Thanos was a perfect choice.
Yeah,
I mean,
agree.
but that's Marvel Studios. I've never seen a studio nail like the casting so well. It's
that's
pretty
facts.
amazing.
So, who do you think is a Skrull?
Wait a minute. So you mean from the Captain Marvel movie?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's probably going to transfer over.
Yeah, but I thought that was so like after Avengers 4, they might do the scroll storylines, or just in that movie, because I thought her movie was going to start out like an origin story, like she would be like somewhere where the scrolls are.
Well, it takes place in the 90s, so they said
it's going to be, I think, the Kree versus Skrull storyline with her in it. So, you don't think it's a possibility that some of our heroes have been replaced? Like, where has she been? You know?
Well, that was one of the biggest.
Who Captain Marvel? You were talking about? Where's she been?
Well, that has been
Captain Marvel. The girl one is technically not. She's a genetic like hybrid from the male like
Marvel.
Marvel. So like,
but I'm talking about Captain Marvel, like her. So
yeah, so I think that during their movie, like he's saying that they're gonna do kind of like an origin story where she's gonna be somewhere messing with the Kree somehow, and you're gonna have him die and it transferred to her basically, and then that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do, of course, like her origin is like in the 90s, and that's gonna be about, because I think Jude Law is playing playing Marvel, and she'll get the powers from him, but then like it will switch back and forth from the 90s to current day wherever she is, and for her to not be involved in anything that's happened in the past 10 years of movies means to me she has to be off planet somewhere. And that like pager that Nick Fury had is some kind of satellite super duper pager to be able to
talk. I'm glad you said that, because that's the one thing that a lot of people have been asking me that don't really know about that origin story. Like, so Fury had this panic button for the last 10 years and never used it. No scenario has ever popped up where he decided, you know what, I have probably the strongest character in the MCU that we know of, that's been introduced so far.
She's supposed to be the mightiest Avenger.
Marvel, he had this pager, this panic button, and he decided to use it at this moment. Like, what I think they're gonna really touch on a lot of that. Like, maybe we're gonna hear like she's gonna say, "Only contact me in dire straits" and stuff, because the fact that they did it now and she had, like you said, had no context in any movie up until this point is, I'm really interested on how they're gonna tie that all in for next year.
And Villain just said something that's pretty true as well, that Nick Fury in the Captain Marvel movie, he'll have both his eyes. So
yeah, he will
figure out like how he lost one.
Yep.
It's definitely going to be interesting because there's a lot of different ways that they can like take liberties with her storylines, because there's so many different like things that are in her storyline. So
yeah. Well, it comes out literally the month before. So 30 days, and then we hit the floor running to the next Avenger movie. So
Yeah. When is the Ant-Man and Wasp movie? That's like next month.
next
July.
month.
Man,
Yeah.
nobody cares about seeing that.
Oh, look, yeah, they do.
Look, no, that movie's
It's
going to
gonna be
tie
tied
into
in.
all this somehow.
Dude,
People
they knew what they were
man.
doing. They knew what they were doing by putting Avengers out right before it is. They put that nice little conversation where they said what Scott was doing, said he's under house arrest pretty much. And anybody that know who he is gonna be like, okay, so we're gonna get some type of, and it's supposed to literally run in conjunction with the movie.
Yeah,
With,
it
Avengers.
takes place during and after a
Infinity
little bit
War,
after, yeah. So they're very strategic in when they place these movies out, you know, because like this is going to tie into what happened and what is going to happen later on. I mean, you think about looking at next year, Captain Marvel's movie comes out, and then like a month later is Avengers 4, the same way Black Panther was like, you know, a month or so before Infinity War, the first one. So they know what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
they want the events of Captain Marvel to be fresh in your mind when you go into Avengers 4.
Yeah, that's true, because like the big battle for at the end of Infinity War took place in Wakanda, and how much powerful would that have not been if you didn't have Black Panther literally a month before that?
Yeah, there'll be so many people like, what is this Wakanda? Why they have all this technology? This doesn't make any sense. Like, there'll be so many people complaining. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So so I honestly believe you're going to get a lot of context in Ant-Man, and you might get some type of Easter egg about well, no, you probably won't get that, because like I said, Fury, unless he actually talked to Fury, I think you might actually hear it from Hawkeye. They might have something to do with him and like try to bring him back into the fold, because they were looking for Hawkeye up until the very end when Fury disappeared. They were trying to get in contact with him.
Okay, well, I don't care about Ant-Man or the Wasp, so I'll go see it maybe in like a few weeks after it comes out, because I don't care about seeing that movie. Ant-Man was fine. The first one was fine.
Or you could just wait till next year and check it
Ant-Man
out
Slender,
at home.
I see.
Say what?
Ant-Man Slender in here, man.
Yeah. I will say, me being a huge Alien fan, I love the scene on the ship where he was like, "You ever see Aliens?" And they literally reenact the scene where the queen gets blown out of the airlock. I thought it was a bit. He was like, what did he say? He was like, "I'm more power." He said, "Your powers aren't good enough to go against me." He said, "Well, the kid has seen more pop fiction than you."
Hey, you realize they dropped the Russo brothers are like they do the Arrested Development, and that dude Funkai, the Blue Man dude, is in Collector's Vault.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's literally in like one of the scenes, dude. Like that.
So what did y'all think about the hidden character that no one knew where the hell he disappeared to after Captain America Red Skull ending up in
the so
in Valamir?
I was glad they finally tied that loose end up, because for years people have been kind of like every now and then talking about, man, what happened to the Red Skull?
Right.
Like, is he going to show up? Like they never act like, because this is the first Captain America movie, and that was so many years ago, and he just hasn't been heard of at all since then.
He just appears out of nowhere.
Yeah. One thing I did love was the banter and the comedy between Thor and the Guardians. I love it. It was so funny.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And the Thor calling Rocket a rabbit.
He kept calling the rabbit, yeah.
But what about Rocket's fascination with like prosthetics though, when he tries to get like Bucky's arm at the beginning?
Yeah, he wanted the gun at first. Then he was like, "I'm gonna get that gun. Yeah, I'm gonna get that that arm." Oh man! So
and he didn't, in the first Guardians movie, he took someone's eye, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
he gives that to Thor.
he gives that to Thor.
I would think I would have watched that first.
Just
But
kinda-
then remember in the first Guardians movie too, he tells Peter to get that dude's leg for no reason, just get it from him. Remember,
Yeah.
makes him like barter and trade and shit for it, and he's like, "No, dude, I just wanted you to like, I just thought it would be funny."
Right. So, another thing, what did you think about Peter Dinklage character, the dwarf? What did you think about that?
I thought it was pretty funny. It was like when he appeared, like so many
Yeah.
people, you could hear like this little murmur or snickering in the theater, and you kind of knew what everyone's thinking. They got a dwarf to play a
A
giant.
giant.
Yeah, that is out there, man.
Boy, you're going to take the force of an entire stun.
Boy,
I know that's the
Boy.
next news I heard. I was like, boy.
I still haven't beat the game yet. Oh man,
Oh man, you missing out, man. You gotta go get that done.
I'm like halfway through.
Man. You know, you're doing good, man. Take your time. It's better. It's more enjoyable if you don't rush through it.
hey, and so what you think about when the like secret Avengers show up, Natasha in the movie, like Captain America, her when they roll up and shit and just pop out.
Oh, you talking about when they say Vision?
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think everybody, you know, the one thing about that was it was like if you suspend disbelief, like okay, so they didn't check in, that's why they went after them because they were off the grid. But then it's like they always show up at the very opportune time. I understood the whole Nebula showing up on Titan right at the right moment when she crashed the ship right on Thanos and they were able to trap him before everything went to hell because Doctor Strange seen that. That was a vision that they kind of built that up in that one scene. But for them to just show up right there with Vision, especially with them using that trailer, a lot of the trailers were really talking about like when is Vision going to lose the stone? The one thing about this movie, I thought this movie was going to end 4 or 5 times before it actually did, because the way that they kept having these dramatic buildups to a certain point that was going to happen, and then it would just carry on to the next thing.
let's see. I thought it was interesting because it basically showed that they were like operating still as like the Avengers. They were just not like communicating with the other, like they were still watching everything that was going on, like everyone and stuff like that. So
yeah, that I always thought that was funny because especially when Tony saw Banner again for the first time, and then he saw when they were talking, he was like, well, you've been gone a while. He was like, yeah, the Avengers, we broke up. And he was like, what, like a band?
like a band.
Like a band.
Oh man, the banter in the movie was really good, and it was certain parts where I was like, come on now, it don't, a little bit too much, but most of it was like, yeah. Drax was freaking amazing. He was standing there watching Gamora and What's-Her-Name kiss, and he was like, just standing there.
He said, I'm standing so still that you can't see me. I'm invisible.
You can't see me. I mastered the illusion of standing still. Oh, it was good.
Yeah,
good.
it was a lot of good comedic moments in that movie.
So
it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I wouldn't want to see it again just because it's like, to be honest, I didn't feel like there was a lot of action in it. It was a lot of character build up for Thanos.
Yeah. Well, they had a lot to do. I mean, from the first time you saw him turn his head in that chair at the end credits to this, there was a lot of
yeah, I mean, you got to think about how many characters they had to fit into this movie to even give them like screen time.
Dude, people that think about it, people that deserved more screen time that didn't get it is crazy.
Yeah, Cap is barely in this, really.
Barely in the movie.
Yeah.
Him and Black Panther are just like, yeah, we're here.
Wakanda forever.
No dressing.
Breaks me. and then Cap looks at he's like, Dave, I'm gonna race you. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. But at the same time, bro, they got a lot of shit to do. They only had what? They had time restraints. 2 hours and 40 minutes, man, for all those characters and all those plot lines, whatever.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's still impressive what they did, man. So,
what do you guys think? Like, so we all kind of feel like the original Avengers are going to be, if they're either going to die in the next movie or they're going to retire when it's over. Like they're just going to fade off into the distance and let the new guard take over. Do you think the movies after this phase are going to be still as popular as they are now?
Yes.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
The new guard is Black Panther and Spider-Man. So
Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, and
Black Panther.
Yep.
And just remember, you can always bring people back.
Yeah.
And then I also heard they may finally do a Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
Although it's not officially in the schedule, but I heard that there was rumblings that might actually happen.
Okay, so that's a good question. Which phase 1 Avengers do you think can die and not disrupt? Well, I mean, anything's going to disrupt it, but not really hurt the MCU. And which ones would like really hurt it short term? Because I think it'll be fine regardless. But which ones you think will hurt the most, and which ones you think they can actually just skate by and like nobody bat an eye at?
It's gonna be a lot of your lesser ones like Hawkeye, and I think that they're gonna get rid of like Tony Stark though, because there's already been like talks outside of like the MCU or whatever that he doesn't want to basically like play Iron Man no more. So some of that stuff might be due to stuff like that as well, and not just how it works into the plot. So
it's the same for Chris Evans. Chris Evans doesn't want to play Cap forever. So he's those two are less likely to renew their contracts, and also being the most like popular Avengers probably. It's especially
it's going to sell the best. You get what I'm saying? If the most popular ones, like you were saying earlier, sacrifice their life to move the Avengers forward, that's really going to get people into the Avengers, because now you got like these martyrs of the Avengers that they'll keep referencing in the newer movies. So they'll still have parts in the new movies, but they won't be like have their own separate movies anymore. They'll just be like,
and hey, if the purchase of Fox by Disney gets finalized, within the next year or two, the next phase might actually have them introducing the X-Men in the Fantastic Four final.
Yeah,
that's kind of what
I'd like to see that, man.
Of the Phoenix Force, because they've already tied the Phoenix Force like into the X-Men movies, like when they kind of leave that string open, and then
those movies are so bad.
And then
Stan Fox,
and then the Phoenix Force is also tied into like, you know what I'm saying, the Infinity Gauntlet. So,
and you want to remember that Fantastic Four movie from like 2015?
they only made that movie so they could hold on to the license. That's it. That's the only reason why they made the movie.
Which one?
The last one where they had Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch.
Yeah. Well, that's the same reason that Sony keeps rebooting Spider-Man, because they have that contract that they have to make a Spider-Man movie like every 10 years or something. They have to have at least one.
Yeah,
so
I think it's like
what?
I can't remember exactly what the breakdown is.
I don't remember the earlier movies, but why did it take Thanos 10 years to get those stones when he got them in literally 2 hours?
Because he didn't want to do it himself.
He didn't want to do the work.
Yeah, he had like his children or whatever.
Yeah, the children of Ronan. The children of Thanos. Yeah, he had Ronan try to get the first one. That failed.
Mm-hmm.
Gamora never told him, to this point, up until this movie where the Soul Stone was, and no one knew where the Time Stone was. I mean, up to this point, no one knew where the Time Stone was because it was with Doctor Strange.
How was he tracking the stones?
That's a good question.
It's a contradiction to his character, because he's like, only I have the will to do this. it took you 10 years to do this, fam. Like, what were you doing?
Well, they did set it up at the very end of the last movie where he put the glove on and said, "I guess I had to do it myself." So you never know what he.
Well, he probably should have done it himself in the first place. Because if he has this iron will to wipe out half the universe, I mean, he got the stone so quickly doing it himself. I don't understand why he didn't just do that in the first place.
And it actually would have been a little easier if he would have just did it himself before, because back then there was no Avengers. The Nova Corps didn't have the Power Stone. The only he would still probably would have a problem finding the Soul Stone, but the rest of it would have been so much easier because he would have had the. I mean, Strange didn't have the time stone, not the time stone. Yeah, the time stone.
Yeah, he wasn't even Doctor Strange yet, so
yeah. Basically him, delegating these duties basically, made it so it was harder on himself.
You know what was funny is now that you think about the stones, they just showed no love to the Nova Corps. He just showed up on the ship and said he decimated the Nova Corps and took the Power Stone.
Yeah,
they didn't get no screen time.
They didn't get no scene, no nothing. Scene or nothing.
All you got was a look from Star-Lord when they said that he got the Power Stone from there, and it was like, the Nova Corps.
They're all dead.
Right.
Literally all of them? Yeah.
Well, they did. They said he destroyed the Nova. I mean, he didn't say half the population. They said he destroyed the Nova Corps to get it. So no one really knows exactly how that played out. We still don't know how he actually got the reality stone from the Collector. Like, we just know that he ended up with it.
Yeah, he just blew the place up.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool how he used the reality stone to actually, find out what Gamora's true intentions were. When she came there.
Yeah, it was. What do you think about the part when the Maul put Doctor Strange and was like putting those needles in him?
Oh, that was crazy, dude.
Yeah. And then they killed the body also, man.
Yeah, that's literally not the comics too, but in the comics, it's like in his mind or in the Maul's mind.
They killed all of the children of Thanos in the movie.
Yeah, all of them.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
But Thanos doesn't give a shit, so.
No, he's looking over the farmland, looking at the sunrise right now with a smile on his face.
Yep.
But some people are really thinking that that they can reason with Thanos and he can be the person that brings these people back. There's so many freaking plot lines. I don't know what the heck the MCU is going to do with the next movie. I mean, at this point, it hurts my brain to even think how they're going to, change everything that happened, because we know it's going to happen. I just think it's the experience of actually seeing it happen on screen is what I'm looking forward to.
I think the most outlandish thing that you can imagine is what's going to happen, because they already showed that.
Yeah, they already showed that they can do the most outlandish. They killed Black Panther,
and they have to up what they did on the ending of this movie and make it even more shocking.
How can you do that though?
Well, I don't know, but that's the bar that they got to set. So
how can you do that, man? You kill you in the movie where you wipe out half the population, and the only people that got left were Phase 1 Avengers and Rocket. Basically.
Hey, so I think that you're gonna have
and Rhodey. There's still Rhodey,
Wait, he said it's still Rhodey.
There's still Rhodey.
Wait, Rhodey, crippled Rhodey. Barely can walk.
Maybe in the alternate timeline they trade Rhodey for Black Panther.
Oh, Lord.
Was my God. The only one? Was that the only one kind of like I felt bad for Falcon? This dude turned the dust in the bushes.
Dog, what's they was looking for, bro? Just like Sam. He just disappeared right in front.
He was in the bushes. At least other people saw like that hero disappeared. Sam's in the bushes. He turned to dust. Rhodey probably stepped on his dust and kicked it all up. And everything.
Oh,
No
man.
one even seen him. Like, and then afterwards, they were just no one was like, "Hey, anybody see Sam?"
Anybody see Brody?
No,
disrespect.
you're just mad disrespect.
Man, they gotta put some love on his name.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. So let's have one little thought on I know Luca don't care about Ant-Man, but since this movie is going to take place during and go after Avengers End, we're gonna see people disappearing probably in this movie. Who you think is gonna be do you think there's gonna be any noticeable people that's gonna disappear in that movie to tie it all together?
That's a good question. I mean, who's left for them to disappear?
I know that's the thing. I mean, like I said, that's one thing I was thinking about with Hawkeye. He could they could bring him back into the fold for that movie, maybe, because he can get. So I don't know. I just thought about that when I said that movie's running in conjunction. Could somebody disappear that actually means something to the MCU that wasn't involved in this movie?
I could see Hawkeye coming back for the next movie and he being like really motivated because
his
his whole family disappeared.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
You know, like that would really, because really it's his family that pretty much got him to retire from the Avengers already. So that would be a good motivation.
That would be a really good in scene credit for Ant-Man if they showed him with his family and that actually happened right in front of us. That could be something that could really that could really catapult into the next movie really well if they did something like that.
I also agree with Villain in the chat. Villain says he thinks the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym, will disappear in the next one. And I can see that happening too. Like halfway through the movie, he just disappears and they realize what happened while they were out doing whatever.
Yeah. Well, that sounds possible.
It's going to be interesting, to say the least.
So, Luca, you got anything else you want to add to anything?
No, I think we covered it well.
Cool.
You guys have any other thoughts?
DC can't do this.
They got to step their game up.
They might as well just stop doing this DC movie stuff.
Take the worst.
And just start over and do better.
Yeah, take the worst MCU movie and it's better than the best DCEU movie.
Oh my god, we can't do this. All right, guys, you know what?
It's true.
Look, man, Mom, we can't be upsetting, our parents. We can't upset our parents here now.
Hey,
we all like being on the show every once in a while, so we can't be upsetting people because she up here. You see, she up here being quiet. She up here taking notes, man.
I've already kicked all of you out of Discord.
oh no!
You can't be doing. Nah, man, but I ain't gonna. I feel the same way. It's just that ultimately, the bar has been raised, and I just don't know where they can go with this next one. I mean, I know the next one's probably going to be amazing and it's going to be great, but man, it's almost like Star Wars at this point for me. Like, how much better can you make it to the point where I go into it and I'm like, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
So that's where I am with this next Avenger movie. Like, I'm trying to not, especially since I know how they did it now, because that was part of the enjoyment of actually seeing the movie, how they actually went through with how they were going to tie it into the comic. And once I seen that, now I know, okay, so the next part of this is kind of boring. How did they get everybody back? And now I'm interested in how they're actually going to do that. So
yeah, how they do it, it can be corny. It can't be like
it can't be corny, right?
Where people just kind of turn up their face, like, really, that's what y'all did to fix all this. They have to avoid that reaction. So there has to be some kind of sacrifice to get there. That's why, like, I'm not saying I'm rooting for Cap to die, but it's like there's no other death or sacrifice that would make any sense, that would make people go, okay,
I think if it's Iron Man or Captain America, either one of them would basically be good enough. Because
I think both of them, more Iron Man than anything, just because at some point you're going to have the Wolverine syndrome where you feel like you just can't get rid of somebody, and how people are going to react, because, just like with Hugh Jackman, it's like you can't see anybody else as Wolverine. So they have to go a long time before they reboot that character. So it's not like people don't get hurt by it. And as of right now, you're not almost there. You're definitely there when it comes to
Tony Stark.
Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark at this point. And but Captain America's been skating death for the last 3 movies, because he's supposed to die a while ago.
This is like
it has to be them too. If it's anyone else, then it looks like, well, you just killed a minor character, so what? It has to be someone that previously you always kind of figures like was untouchable. So,
and I think that's a good way for them to end like the Civil War. You get what I'm saying? Storyline, because basically when one of them sacrifices himself, then it kind of like restores the Avengers. You get what I'm saying? To being unified. So that because one of them becomes a martyr. You get what I'm saying? So why would they still be at war with each other when one of them gave their life to, you get what I'm saying, to save the world, basically? So
because they're like pretty much all the Avengers follow either Tony or Cap.
Yep.
They don't really follow. They don't follow anyone else. It's either Tony or Cap. So but
I thought that was
probably both of them. Really,
I thought that was real interesting that the whole during the whole journey of this movie, Cap and Tony never saw each other.
Maybe it'll be them. Maybe it'll be both of them. Maybe it'll be both of them together.
They never saw each other.
Never saw each other in this movie, because literally he was on Titan, and I just want to say that Spider-Man, that was of all that whole movie, that was the most emotional part for me.
Yeah,
because I think that character, they finally found a Spider-Man that actually fits the character for me the best right now.
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was trash. Facts.
Well, I think it's interesting that they're selling the whole Iron Man suit from this movie when he actually got introduced in the end of Homecoming, when like Tony tried to give it to him at the end, and he was like, "No, I don't want to be an Avenger." No.
I just like how the legs come out of it. They did a lot of CG work on that, because all the trailers don't show the legs coming out of the suit, where in the movie it does. So a lot of little cool, little neat tricks they did.
Well, I wonder if in the PlayStation game that they're gonna have the same legs that come out of the suit like that.
Interesting. Don't know. You would think they would. But before we get out of here, guys, we're going to just say that Star-Lord is a dick. This is all his fucking fault. Even though I will say it was pretty cool when he jumped through Doctor Strange's portal and he stuck the middle finger up at Thanos as he put the bomb on his back. That was cool. So,
no, hold up.
But it was his fault.
Vaughn in the chat said Andrew Garfield is the better actor. Now,
what?
I'm sorry. No, Tom.
Wait,
Holland,
who said that?
Vaughn Lamont in the chat. Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. He plays this role perfectly.
He's the most believable one.
He is.
Yeah.
Facts.
He's definitely the most believable one.
Now people may not like Homecoming, and I thought it was just okay. And I know I understand the complaints people have had with it, but nobody complains about Tom. Tom did the thing. He does the role well. Toby,
an okay movie.
Oh my!
Toby Maguire? Oh,
no, Dice.
Toby Maguire. No, I'm sorry. Like, I'm ruined with Toby Maguire Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3. Oh, so you gonna go evil and now you just gonna start singing all the time? Is that what happened when you get the Venom symbiote? You just start singing? freak out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was terrible. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, so I think that was by
Oh,
far
man.
the crowning part of the whole movie for me is just that scene with him they built that up over, 3 movies basically when it came to Civil War. They built it up with Homecoming, and then they finished it off with this one. So you really believed the emotion between him and Stark.
yeah,
And I
because
think that's
Tony
what
kept,
that's what really sold it right there. Because you got
kept
to
warning him. Tony kept warning him and saying, "Look, you don't want to be in this," and he kept saying, "Look, I want to be
Yeah.
in this." He's like, "Look, something bad's gonna happen," and then exactly that thing happens, and he can't do shit to like save him. When he looks at him, it's kind of like his little protege. You know what I'm saying? Because
and
we're both
and part of
geniuses.
and part of me thinks, and now that I think about it, part of me thinks that if we all know that Tony Stark is the type of person that definitely wants to be the person that saves everything. And I agree. I think Captain America hasn't had that moment yet, but I think Tony Stark, knowing that if he has a chance to save Spider-Man and bring him back, and he can actually be the catalyst for that, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the way it broke down, because he physically saw this guy die right in front of him, and he feels like it's his fault.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, but that's pretty much all I have for this. It was a great movie, and I mean, if you're listening to this, then you don't need to go see it. You already heard everything about it, but I still think you should see it just for the experience.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of issues with the movie. Like, I hate when the most logical path is the one no one takes. Like Vision, he was gonna die either way, so they should have just destroyed the stone when they had the chance.
I agree.
Honestly, and then it's like,
Yeah.
I didn't like Captain America in Civil War. I was on Team Stark because I felt
too.
I felt
Same.
like what they were asking wasn't that unreasonable. And then Cap, he was just doing what he was doing out of selfishness because Bucky was his friend, not because of some higher ideals. And he dragged literally everyone else into it. So the whole, we don't trade lives. Sir, you should. Like, what the fuck? Start trading lives. Like, it's one life versus billions. Cut it out. Trillions.
Yeah. And even when
I agree.
Vision was like, please, no, kill me. He's like,
No, and I understood the situation from Scarlet Witch's point of view because she was in love with Vision. But yeah, when it came to Cap, I was like, Cap, you got to stop being this moral compass and just do something that is not the norm, because this could have all been avoided if they would have just, like you said, when instead of taking Vision to Wakanda, they could have ended that a long time ago.
Facts.
So yeah, I agree.
I just don't like when people's morals keep them from doing what would help everyone, logically speaking. Like, that's something that's always bothered me.
Oh, okay. You know what? Good question then. So if you were in the situation that Peter Krill was in with finding out about Gamora being dead, how would you have handled that situation? Like emotionally?
I would have waited for the gauntlet to come off.
Yeah, that's facts.
But we all know that Peter is
a moron.
he acts first, asks questions later. He is also an idiot.
He's the son of ego. So like a lot of that shows it with his ego. So I mean,
good point. Good point.
That's why he's cocky, proud, shit like that. I mean, that all comes from ego. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
The last thing I will say is Thor was amazing at the end. I love how Thor was freaking amazing at the end when he summoned the Bifrost with the fucking Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
That shit was sick.
I didn't realize he was that powerful.
Dude,
yeah, he is, man.
Super powerful
now. They kind of lead up into it in the end of Ragnarok when he talks to his dad, and his dad's like, your hammer is like, not where you get your power. And then he basically like
your hammer is what harnesses your power.
Yeah, he's like all your hammer is like I gave it to you so you could focus your power like into it.
Yep.
Because back in the 80s, they had a stipulation on his powers, his weaknesses. If he was away from his hammer for more than a minute, then he wouldn't have any power.
Yeah.
But they changed that.
Yeah, I really liked all the way up to the end when he stuck Stormbreaker right through Thanos' chest, and he said, "I told you I would be the one to do this," and he said, "You died today," and then Thanos was like, "You should have went for the head," and snapped his finger. So it was like bittersweet, and I just really enjoyed the way that Thor reacted to it. Like he sat there and he was like, "What did you do?" Like he didn't know what happened, and at that point, I was partially thinking like, "Please don't let fucking Thor just disappear right in front of us." That would be heartbreaking if that happened after all that. And
Man,
because I honestly thought they were going there because they kept that wide angle shot on Thanos. You saw the gauntlet completely burnt out, and he just kept looking. They just kept the camera on Thor, and I knew that he had snapped his finger. So I'm like, is Thor gonna just disappear right in front of us? Because if that would happen, that would have probably been it for me. But of course, he didn't disappear. So
Yeah,
I
I,
think
true.
I have this feeling.
Wait,
That
didn't the black
he's
guy
not gonna
die first in the movie this time?
Oh man, not like
Oh,
that.
dog.
Oh
Yeah,
God!
Don't gotta be like this, bro.
Yeah, who was
Oh,
the first person to disappear? Now that I think about it.
No, I'm
Yeah,
talking
him,
about
though.
the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, Hemdall was the first one to
Yeah,
die,
him though
He was the
died,
first to die.
and then
yeah.
Loki followed it up but at least Hemdall died with a purpose because
Yeah.
he fucking Loki died because he was being himself and tried to think he could actually take out the Mad
Kind of
Titan.
finesse.
I was just surprised that he stuck around. I thought he would have like been like, "I'm out, peace."
no, he wanted access. He was looking for his end to manipulate the situation to come out on top. That's all it was. That's why he was like,
And I didn't even think about it at the end of Ragnarok until he showed us the Tesseract. I forgot that at the end of Ragnarok, he actually, when he went down into the vault,
yep, to go get the.
he actually looked at the Tesseract, and I didn't
Yep.
think anything about him taking it then until I saw it in his hand in this movie. I was like, oh, so when he went down there to get the what's name, he literally took the Tesseract.
And that's what I was
As
saying.
soon as I saw him look at that, I'm like, he took it. Like,
I wasn't even thinking about it though, because I mean, you wasn't thinking like how they were gonna tie it into this movie, and then when he pulled it out, I was like, oh, Loki being Loki. Why the hell he didn't just leave the Tesseract there? It would have got destroyed with Asgard.
But you know what? I really enjoy Ragnarok, but
Oh, I love that
have
movie.
I have one slight nitpick, and it's with Odin. Like, how in the world do you have this other child
Oh, Helen.
that's so much more powerful than everyone? But yeah, let me just explain to you. She's coming now, and yeah,
There's
it's gonna
no-
be a problem. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, she's
good-
here. Good luck, guys. Like,
Good luck, Sora.
You couldn't let us know ahead of time.
Good
Right.
luck, Sora.
But I mean, I think they kind of touched on that when Odin was like, "You're more." When Thor comes to him in that movie, and he's like, "Well, I'm not powerful enough, to beat her," and he's like, "Well, you're more powerful than I am." So they're basically setting it up to say Thor is you. You get what I'm saying? That he's basically like the top god. So
Yeah.
Odin just tells him good luck and just dies.
yeah,
Good luck. I ain't gotta deal with this. So yeah.
I'm looking
Good
at
luck.
old pictures of Thanos. He was like that CGI and prosthetics was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, bro. It
Oh
was
yeah,
pretty
the
bad.
old
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they waited.
He looked real rubbery
Yeah.
back in the day.
He was really purple back in the day. In the very first trailer that they showed him at the NC, he was really purple, and that nut chin was bigger than it was.
oh my god, not like this.
Oh, that was so funny when Peter Krill said that. He said, "I'm gonna shoot that fucking nut chin
That's
off
it.
your face."
Yo, was Josh Brolin always in those like post-credit scenes? Was he always voicing him, or was it someone else?
That's a good
'Cause
question.
the first time they showed him was at the end of the Avengers, right?
No, I think the first one is at the.
It was at the
Yeah,
end of
it is.
Avengers.
Yeah, it is at the end of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's like leading up to the whole wand. So
Yeah, because he sent Loki to Earth. The whole the Avengers movie happened because he was trying to basically come to Earth to do what he did to Gamora's planet, and Loki was his vanguard, to come in and get everything prepared. So yeah, I think I do recall seeing him first from that post credit scene.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was Josh Brolin voicing him though.
Yeah.
And I can't say he's one of the best representations of a translation from comic to movie, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Like that monstrosity fucking piece of shit apocalypse. Oh my god.
Three avenues.
Fuck, that shit was just fucking
Yeah.
trash.
That was horrible.
It's pretty bad, bro.
So-
And Apocalypse is a fucking monster, bro.
Yeah, it
How about
is.
Fox is just bad
Oh,
at
yeah.
doing this, period.
Apocalypse was trash in that movie.
Oh Jesus.
Because in the comics, bro, I was even as a kid reading it. I remember I had this one issue of I forgot what it was, but when you open up, it was a 2-page spread. When you opened up, Apocalypse killed the entire X-Men.
Is this Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah, I think so.
I
He killed
love
the
that
entire
storyline.
team, bro. Like it was
Yeah.
dope. He was
Yeah,
powerful,
and-
man.
In Age of Apocalypse, he basically had the whole United States as like his kingdom. And
Right.
like
Yeah.
pretty much the majority of the X-Men were dead. Magneto was leading them.
I think the only one. Wait, Magneto was lead. I think Cable was
Yeah.
still alive, or Bishop. One or the other. They were
Yeah.
still alive.
Bishop was
yeah.
the only one that remembered the original storyline, and he
Yep.
was all
Yeah.
like crazy and everything, and he was just like, no, we gotta turn it back, we gotta change it back, because long story short, Legion, who has a TV show now that's pretty awesome if you check it
Yeah,
out,
it is really good.
Legion, one of his split personalities went back in time and killed his father, Charles Xavier, which means the X-Men didn't really get started the way they should have, and then they never stopped Apocalypse's rise, and so he just took over the entire United States, and if you weren't a mutant, you're dead. Like, he just killed everybody. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. So last thing I have on the movie is Stan Lee. We saw the scene that he was in this time. So far, we have all these movies. Which one do you think Stan Lee had the best cameo in so far?
I think Thor Ragnarok when he cuts his hair.
Yeah, I like
Guardians
that.
of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, when he's talking to the Watchers.
The Watchers.
Yeah.
I actually, my favorite is in Iron Man when Tony Stark confuses him for the Playboy dude.
Yeah.
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 That was like my favorite.
Hugh
They-
Hefner.
They're getting more creative. I will say this. They are getting more creative with the way that they implement him in movies now, because in this movie, he was driving the bus and it was like very seamless. It's like it's like literally Peter, and just the way that he literally told what's the name, he said, "Hey, make a distraction." And he said, "We're all gonna die." So that whole scene was just very seamless, and then they just threw Stan Lee in there. And you could have like inserted anybody else and it would have been the same scene. But the fact that it was Stan Lee was like masterful, because they didn't force him in there. It was just like, hey, it could be anybody, but it was Stan Lee. So I actually really like the way they implement him in this movie without really trying to do it.
I like him when he was a FedEx dude.
Oh yeah, that was good too.
in Civil War.
Yeah.
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 I want to see Abomination.
No, that was Civil War, and then when he was in Deadpool, he's a DJ.
He's a DJ. Yep.
I
I,
forgot.
I like him in the weird personas.
What is he gonna be in Deadpool 2? That's
I don't know.
that's gonna be
Or if he's even going to be in the movie, period.
true.
Don't say that, man.
Yeah,
Oh
true.
no, it's in his contract. He
Yes.
has to get a cameo in
In all
every movie.
Marvel
no matter
movie.
Who's doing it? Sony, Fox, or Marvel Studios. He's always going to get a cameo. He has a very interesting contract with Disney. He basically gets like a couple of mil a year for the rest of his life, and he gets to be a cameo in every single movie. It's pretty dope.
Pretty dope. Always keep yourself relevant.
I mean, yeah. He's setting
Pretty
himself
much.
up for like this is gonna like supersede like him. You get what I'm saying? So
Cool. Well, hour and a half in, guys. Luca, you got anything else you want to add?
No, great job, guys.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out, and for people watching the playback, thank you.
And fuck you.
That too. Scumcast will be tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll see you then. Say goodbye, guys.
Peace out, bitches.
Later,
Later.
guys. Thanks for
Later,
having me on,
everybody.
Luca.